it is an interesting discussion. And it kind of explains from a philosophical background that I don't know who the guy on the left is interviewed, but the guy on the right is Jordan Peterson. He's a clinical philosopher, and he's written a number of influential books, widely read books about mankind, and he philosophizes about Western culture. So why did I choose this video is because actually to illustrate the fundamental difference between an individualistic society and a collective society, and what Noah Peterson is discussing here is why we are so different. First of all, his argument is that at the core of every collective is an individual. So without the individual, there is no collective. In our culture, in Western culture, we have a God. We have a single God, and that single God is also an individual. So it's individual to individual. So in our belief system in Christianity, we have a direct relation to God, and the way that he interprets religion is that basically God is the divine individual. So he and only one is the divine individual. And what he sees there is that actually God in itself is more a reflection of a projection of the human potential. That is who we could be. So basically, he equalizes that God is basically a self-image. The self-image is not who we are, but who we could be. So that is the human potential. And it is our responsibility as humans to live to our human potential. And if you don't do that, then basically you are a sinner. If you don't strive to be the best who you can be, then basically you're a sinner. That is the background of Christianity. So basically, the way that he interprets religion on a philosophical ground is that there is no predetermination, as is in Eastern cultures. God is an individual, and that God is actually a reflection of your own human potential, the person that you could be. And so that is basically what Western culture is. Western culture is derived from. But there is a very deep and fundamental belief that we as individuals need to strive to be the best that we can be, and that is the fundamental nature of our culture. So if people discuss, if people argue, then their individuality guarantees that they can argue that they are not part of a common belief system, because that common belief system would prevent them from actually argue freely. And that basically, in the minds of Westerners, would make people from a collective not free.
So that's the reason he said beyond the truth.
So basically, to basically, there is not an accepted truth. There is your truth, and it's up to you to find that truth. To find that truth is to get closer to God, is to get closer to your human potential.
So that's the reason why he said individual, need to make communication with the other individual.
Yes. So basically, why are we such an I society? Me. That's actually completely, he tries to completely explain that from our cultural background, and that cultural background has its origin in religion, And religion actually has its basis in individualism as the core of our thinking.
I think behind his discussion, Westerners has many kind of races, so they need to communicate always to understand each other instead of like a Japanese huge village. They have a big common sense each other, but instead Westerners they do not have common sense sharing each other. This is basically in Western Europe. They based on Christianity. Always they need to make communication beyond their own truth. Truth itself is different by people, even the same God. How do you think?
I think that you have a point. However, if I would just if I would relate it to the argument that he's making, that actually our individual, a sense of individuality is derived, can also be seen in our religion. That religion is very old. That religion is actually prehistorical. And during that time, the world was very small, also for Westerners. I mean, basically, we didn't go out and colonialize the world yet. We did not. The world was completely different 2,000 years ago than it is now. And yet we already had religion. We already had a sense of individuality. So it might go a little bit deeper. It might go a little bit further than just today's reality. Maybe the roots are a little bit deeper than what we see in Europe today. And you're right, of course. We have more people from more parts of the world. But I don't think that is what he means when he discusses the difference.
And as you know, Japanese studied Buddhism or many books, but many people understand the same meaning of those books. They never they never misunderstand each other. Buddhism is Buddhism, right? But Christianity is diversified. Even if the same book, but they understand different way. So in the history, they had big religious strife in the past. So every time they tried to communicate as an individual, but still could not get common sense or common result in the past several hundred or more than 1,000 years ago. So this is their history, okay? And that's the reason why all the way they need to communicate each other. And not only the Christianity, but everything. They always misunderstand each other, miscommunication each other. This is the Westerners' history. But Japanese people, they are different. They understand. They don't need to discuss, as you know. We don't debate, we don't discuss everything. Just they try to accept everything from outside the world. So this is our Japanese culture, because huge village, okay, one village. So that is also we have lots of problem because of that. But this is our culture. How do you think about that? I think that's the reason why Japanese so-called they are under collectivism instead of individualism. Japanese never emphasize I am, right? We are instead of we are. So this is a big historical, background we have.
I think that is absolutely true. What I do believe is one of the reasons of that fundamental difference. Okay, religion is very important. It plays a very important role in the lives of people, because it basically puts everything that we can't explain and everything that we are striving for out of our hands and into something that is more or less invisible, but if you look at the difference between for example, the Bible and the Buddhist religion, then the Bible is kind of like a really difficult to understand and book, because it doesn't really tell us what to do. It has all these stories about Jesus Christ and what happened to him, and that basically doesn't really tell us what to do. It's a description that we need to work with, and it doesn't. Yeah, it's not a clear guideline. Whereas basically, the way I understand it is in Eastern culture there is more of a guideline in how to live. So this is what you need to do. This is how you should run your life. You should study. You should be benevolent. You should do this. You should do that. And if you do that, if you follow these steps, then you can live a good life. And I believe that there is a real difference in perception, where Christianity is basically you need to find yourself, and in Eastern culture it's more of okay, these are the things that you need to do. And that's why Eastern religion has become very popular in Western society, because we don't get those answers from our religion, and that's something that we're looking for answers. And Eastern philosophy, Eastern religion actually provides these answers. It gives us something to work with, something to do, and that can be very comfortable, or how should I say that? That's at least something that we can work with. So if you look at that completely different background, that this is really fundamental to our history, almost ingrained into our DNA through thousands and thousands of years of history. It's not so strange that people who have only merely met each other quite recently, if we look at their longer history, that they have difficulty in communication, not only in terms of language, but also in terms of really understanding each other. Because basically what a Western person sees when he opens his eyes is a different world than what an Eastern person sees when he opens his eyes, because his programming is just basically different.